Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arseholics podcast. And Mize is now going to sing a rendition of Louis Dunford's The Angel. Go, bang.
You're going to join me?
No.
I was going to do it.
Are you actually going to do it?
I thought we were going to do it together.
No,
I don't.
Oh, man,
we might lose our subscribers.
Yeah, we're trying to grow listeners, not lose them.
Oh, mate. I mean,
if we get top four, again. If we get top four, we'll have to do a rendition.
Fair. Look, I'm sorry. Sorry for the unconventional start to the podcast. I mean, it's a bit of a strange mood. I think I'm a little bit pissed still. I think. It's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of an edge. A little bit of an edge. So look, we're recording a couple of hours on the whistle. It's been a really fun day at the Emirates. Oh, fun is probably not the right word. It's been emotional, but fun in parts. So you got Raj here, you got Aaron and Mize with me. There's the three of us on today. Hello, boys. You all right?
Yeah, good evening. Man.
Good. Just about over that. Yeah. I mean, it was a really sunny day, really, really hot day, a bit of heat stroke going on. A lot of pressure going into that game. And it was like a fabulous day for football. And geez, I mean, what a day. And we're going to get into the specifics of the game. But I think, the thing that everyone really cares about is what does it mean? So we have won today. We've beaten Leeds, but whatever. Again, we'll get onto that. We've won. Tottenham drew yesterday, and all of a sudden the North London derby is dawning upon us on Thursday, and there's a whole bunch of different scenarios that can mean a whole bunch of different things. But guys, I mean, how do you feel now, Aaron, and Arsenal's kind of top four kind of certainty can be made on Thursday? I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, man. I mean, I still go back to how I felt after we lost those 3 games against Southampton, Palace, and Brighton. Not in that order, but I was like, we're done, right? It's over. So for us
you
to
said
be,
a miracle.
I was like, it's a miracle. I said it's 99% certain we are not getting top 4. I think I came on. You can play the quote, and I've never been more delighted to be wrong. Just to get back into this situation where we can go there on Thursday and with a win, it'll be done with 2 games to go. It's just ridiculous when you think about it. So yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Thursday and how we're all feeling, but 4 wins on the bounce. Today was a bit sketchy and a lot more uncomfortable than it needed to be, but at this stage of the season, it's just about getting it done, getting those wins, and getting over the line. And yeah, I think I'm looking forward to Thursday. I think the pressure now of we can win it, not win it, but get it done there at their place will be terrifying for Spurs. And whether that will motivate them or whether that will put even more pressure on them, I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah, fair play to the team, fair play to Mikel Arteta. Let's bring on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, Mize, we're in a situation now, right, where if we beat Spurs in the North London derby on Thursday, Arsenal are at least 4th. So Arsenal get Champions League football if we win on Thursday. If Arsenal draw on Thursday, then they need 1 win out of their 2 games, regardless of even if Spurs, win their 2 games after that. If Arsenal just get a draw in the NLD, then just 1 win out of those final 2 games is enough for Arsenal. What's your feeling right now? Are you optimistic? Are you still really nervous? Or how confident are you?
Yeah, I mean, look, after Spurs got that draw yesterday, we were messaging about this, and it wasn't necessarily just them gaining a point that maybe a lot of people didn't expect them to get, considering how good Liverpool have been this season, but it was also the sort of confidence that gives them going into the North London derby. That was a big concern for me. So it was very much a case of, we absolutely need to win to kind of put the pressure back onto Spurs, which obviously we've now done. And I think you go into the North London derby with a 4-point cushion. I don't think you could have asked for, obviously it would have been nice to have 5 points, but 4-point cushion, knowing that, as Aaron said, win the derby, and you've secured top 4, and you've also ensured that Spurs don't get Champions League football next season would be
it would be massive. And I'm feeling pretty confident because I guess if you look at it like this, right, the players are coming off the win, like our players are coming off that win today, preparing for the game on Thursday, and they must be saying to each other, they obviously know, right, what's at stake. They obviously know what they can go and do, and they must be fully aware of teams in the past that have done quite special things. And obviously I'm talking about, winning the league at certain grounds, winning the league at White Hart Lane previously. And obviously this isn't necessarily at that level, but at the same time, if this team goes to White Hart Lane and wins and we get Champions League football on Thursday night, that will go down. It'll go down in history, but for Arsenal fans, for everything we've said about this kind of young team, young manager, it's a project, everything that we've said about them this season and the last couple of years, I think it's a very, very big deal. And I think the players must be fully aware of that. And they must badly want to go and do it. They must absolutely be desperate to go and win. And I think the fact that they can go and play kind of like the pressure is on Spurs, really. Spurs have to win. They have to win. So the pressure's all on them. And I think that look, I don't want to jump the gun and say we're going to go and win, but that could play into our hands. So overall, look, 4 points clear with 3 games to go. That's unreal, really, to be honest. When you look at it like that, we're in 4th. We've got the points on the board. It's not about games in hand anymore or anything like that. We're there and we know exactly what we need to do. It's in our hands. So yeah, of course, I'm massively confident and positive.
But you mentioned the age thing, which is interesting, right? So Aaron, and for you, so we've got the youngest manager, we've got the youngest team, and if you flip it, then Spurs have got one of the most experienced managers in European football at the moment, one of the highest paid managers in European football. He's been there, done that, won titles, won all kinds of things. Is just a top manager, genuinely top manager. They've got 2 truly world-class players in their team in Kane and Son. So taking everything into account, who's feeling more pressure going into the North London derby?
Spurs, I think. I think the 4-point cushion is very big, right? And yeah, of course, we'd have loved it to have been 5, but just the fact that we could lose that game and still have a 1-point gap, I think takes the pressure off this team a bit. And like you said, we're a young team with a young manager, and we have no idea how this team are going to react on Thursday. We've never been with this team in a game of this magnitude. We've never seen how these players react to a run-in. We've never seen how these players react to injuries, to pressure, and to going into a derby like that. It's the first time we've gone into to play at that stadium with fans, right? With away fans anyway. And there's all of these little things that are going to come into it, but ultimately it still comes back to Spurs do need to come out and beat us. And are they capable of doing it? Of course they are. They're a very, very good team, unfortunately. But I look at this team, and the one thing I'm confident we'll do is we'll set up tactically efficiently. Like, we'll get the game plan. We'll have a game plan and we'll do our best. We'll have something planned for Son. We'll have something planned for Kane. We'll have something planned for their fullbacks. And it will be, I think the interesting thing is Spurs, like I said, Spurs have to come out and beat us. So they need to find something to go and beat us. And that's, over the last 4 games, teams have proven that that's actually quite hard to do. So yeah, I think the pressure is all on Spurs, and hopefully we can take advantage of that. I think tactically it'll be really interesting to see, do we try and nullify them, or do they try and nullify us?
Well, I was going to ask you that. Because it is basically a situation, right, where we either go for the jugular and we win and then it's all over. So you go for the knockout blow, or do you kind of say, all right, you play conservatively, you try and make sure you don't lose, you take a draw and then kind of see it to the final 2 games?
I think you have to play conservatively, because it's Spurs, and the last thing you want to do against Spurs is come at them and try and attack them, because they will eat up all that space we leave behind, and Kane and Son will try and hit us on the counter very quickly. I think the best thing, and where we've seen Spurs struggle, is when they play a deep block and a defensively minded team. they struggle, they run out of ideas, and then their defense doesn't hold up and they concede goals. It's a bit like the Arsenal of old, to be honest. But so yeah, I think we should try and sit back. We should say don't score, and then we'll go from there. And hopefully, we can get something going forward.
Well, Miles, do you agree with Aaron? And if you agree with him, how do you actually see that manifesting then on Thursday? If we're not going to go for the jugular, like, do you see him going for a defensive lineup? Do you see him changing things up at all?
So yeah, I mean, I sort of disagree. Like, I think it's obviously, yeah, like in terms of making sure we're stable defensively, of course, that's going to be massive and that's going to be important. And we don't want to be putting ourselves in a position where we're sort of chasing the game early on. But I think what has happened over the last few games with sort of some of the issues that have come about with the injuries that we've had, namely Tierney and Partey, we've obviously experimented with a couple of options, Tavares, Lokonga, and then we've gone to, well, today, Tomiyasu at left back. Obviously, El Neni's kind of made that central midfield spot his own. He's basically made himself undroppable. And I feel like where a few games ago we had kind of problems in terms of who was going to start and how were we going to set up, I feel like the results themselves and the performances have you know, we basically sorted that out. So I think we go into Spurs with a pretty settled team. I don't actually anticipate any changes. I think we were talking about this earlier, right? About does he bring Tavares back in at left back? Does he switch to a back three? I personally don't think he will, because I think if you switch to a back three against Spurs, I think that's sending the wrong. I just think it's sending the wrong message, to be honest. I think that's basically sending the message saying that, you know, we're a little bit afraid of what you guys can do, and we're going to come and kind of see how the game pans out. We'll try and win it, but you know, if we could take a draw, we'll take a draw. And I don't know. I'm not sure Arteta will want to approach the game like that. I think he'll go for it in the sense, yeah, I think he'll still play four at the back. I think the Tomiyasu at left back today was very, very impressive. Like, there was a bit of a question mark over that, just because I don't think he's ever played there for us before. If I don't believe so. And he basically did. You wouldn't say that it was a right back playing left back when you watch that performance today. And I think he's obviously a lot more solid than Tavares. And Aaron, and you made a great point in the pub afterwards that Martinelli had a good game, probably, or had a better game than recently, probably as a result of having Tomiyasu behind him and having that kind of solid cover, essentially. So I think all in all, I think I personally think we'll go into the Spurs game set up quite similar to today, assuming it, you know, there's no kind of fitness issues. And I wouldn't be surprised if he picked exactly the same team again, to be honest. I guess there's always that Martinelli or Smith Rowe option on the left. But Martinelli had a really, really good game today. He looked really, really dangerous. So I'm not really sure why, you know, he would get dropped. And I personally think it's kind of like what I said before. I think you go to Spurs and you win. I know we don't need to, but it really does kind of send a bit of a message, and it's a statement win, and it is a historic win. And I don't mean to exaggerate it by saying, you know, it's the same as winning the league there in 2004 or anything like that, but it is a statement win, you know, securing Champions League football at White Hart Lane or at whatever, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. And I think Arteta and the players will be absolutely itching to do it. So yeah, I think we go there and take the game to them and basically prove that we're better than them.
But on the face of it, like, kind of emotions aside, you sort of think a home game against Leeds, who are battling relegation, versus an away game at Tottenham, who under Conte, you know, battling for top four. They're very, very, very different games. But you're suggesting we keep the same side and there's no tactical tweak needed?
I don't think so. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I know we set up quite differently against Chelsea, and we were talking about this. Was it a back five or not? But after that, the United game and the West Ham game, we played a back four, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, we hit four past United. I don't really see. I don't know. I think it depends. Like, we're not playing City or Liverpool on the weekend, on Thursday. Sorry. So, you know, we're playing a team that essentially are below us in the league, and I think he has to approach it with the kind of mindset, the mentality that we go there and we try to win the game. And I think you can only you do that by putting out your best 11, and you go tactically with what you're familiar with and what's been working the last few games. So Yeah, that's.
Let me put it to you. Right? We obviously know Son's going to be there on the right hand side, right? Against our right hand side. Our right against Cedric. Would you rather have Tomiyasu there, or would you leave Cedric there and then keep Tomiyasu?
But then you've got Kulusevski on the other side. And so then
true.
you saying you play Tavares on Kulusevski? I'd be more worried about that than I am about Son on Cedric, personally.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I almost feel like he played Tomiyasu there today as a bit of a trial ahead of Thursday.
Yeah.
To say, like, could this work? It sounds like, I think there were reasons he did it today, and we'll talk about that later on. But I think this was very much a could this work ahead of Thursday, and I think the fact that it gets the better out of Martinelli is probably a big reason to go with it, because when Tavares is there, he's going up and down the wing, and he's kind of in Martinelli's space, and then Martinelli has to kind of come inside. But because Tomiyasu is not really a touchline runner, it just meant that Martinelli can hog that touchline and then just go out wide. And we saw today like how many balls out wide he got, and how often he just kind of drove towards, drove out wide and drove towards the byline, the kind of byline, and get those crosses in. And I think that was really effective. And I think if we are going to take the game to them, you put Tomiyasu on the left. If we're more worried about them, you probably say, well, let's put Tomiyasu on the right.
Let's talk about Tomiyasu for a little bit, because there was a couple of pundits on social media who were talking about Tomiyasu and how he reminds them a little bit of Azpilicueta. And if you look at Azpilicueta over the last however many years at Chelsea, they've had lots of defenders come in and out in left back, centre back, right back, etc. But a lot of people would say that he's consistently been just their best defender, pound for pound, just their best defensive player. As Azpilicueta's been over a number of years, his versatility, his ability to drop in any position. And I heard someone say today on social media, is Tomiyasu almost the new Azpilicueta? He's just this player who seems to just be a really, really good footballer, a really talented defender. And today we saw him play left back for the first time in his Arsenal career. His second start since coming from a pretty annoying medium-ish term injury, should we say, right? But he plays left back for the first time against Rafinha, who is apparently linked with all kinds of teams, and Rafinha is meant to be half decent, and is allegedly going to go for a lot of money. And Rafinha was made to be a complete irrelevance today. The most relevant thing Rafinha did today was complain about the red card and get a yellow card in the process. He did nothing else. He was completely nullified by a guy playing left back for the first time in his Arsenal career. I mean, can we just maybe take a second to applaud? Because it was that good. It was so good. Miles, talk to me about Tomiyasu.
Yeah, look, when he went out of the team a couple of months ago, whatever it was, we knew it'd be a massive downgrade to go to Cedric. And to be fair to Cedric, he's been okay. Like, he's not been excellent, but he's been relatively solid. But you've seen Tomiyasu coming back in the team, kind of what we've missed. And he's not a spectacular player, as Aaron has said. He's not like a fullback that bombs forward at every opportunity. But at the same time, he's one of these players that you almost don't notice how good he is unless we obviously go, when we go to the games, you kind of watch certain players for periods of the game, and you start to see kind of how important he is for us. And yeah, I don't know, he's just come out of nowhere, and he just seems like he's just settled in so quickly, and he just seems like a very, very high quality defender. And and again, we were talking about this in the pub. I can't remember which one of you guys made the point. He's very, very good aerially, so he gives us that option if we need to go long, and the ball needs to go far left, far right, depending on which side he is. And he normally wins most of his aerial duels as well. And yeah, like, Yeah, I mean, look, hopefully he just stays fit for the rest of the season. I'm not really sure kind of what else there is to say about him. You covered it quite well, Raj, but yeah, he's been fantastic since he's come back in the last couple of games.
Well, Aaron, do you think it's almost a credit to the team, the fact that he, has been that talented a player? He came in the team, he won Player of the Month a few times, and then gets his injury during this really crucial part of the season, but we managed to survive without him somehow. Is this kind of one of those, him coming back in the team, is that the boost that we've needed?
Yeah. I mean, I echo what he says, what both of you guys have been saying. I absolutely love the guy. Like for me, the biggest surprise has been about like how good he is in the air. Like he just wins. He seems to win every aerial deal that he's in. And when we signed him, I don't think any of us thought this is a guy that's going to be like an aerial beast. But he is. He's very good, and he's also good on his feet, and he's good positionally. He's good. He can use both feet, and yeah, I think the system Arteta really wants is like one fullback who kind of stays put, one more like defensively minded fullback, and then you've got ideally Kieran Tierney on the left who kind of goes up and down the wing, or at least can do that. And then we've talked about this before, where it kind of you have the fullback tuck in and form a back three, and that allows the kind of other players to do more advanced, attacking, take up more advanced attacking positions. But at the moment, it was a bit weird because, we had Tavares and then we had Cedric, who both kind of pushed up, and that wasn't ideal. And now we have Tomiyasu there. I think it probably helps. Then we saw it again today where Cedric took up some quite advanced positions up on the other side. So I think naturally it'll be really good if we can get Ben White, Tomiyasu back playing together, because I think those two work well together. At least they did previously.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think generally, not just the Tomiyasu injury, but I think the biggest success story of this last kind of month or 2 months at least has been how we've managed to recover and get back control of some kind of like footballing system despite the injuries. So
yeah,
we lost Partey, we lost Tomiyasu for a bit, we lost Tierney, and at that point we started losing games as well. And it looked like things were going to spiral out of control, but credit to Arteta and credit to the players. We've managed to figure out an efficient way of playing that doesn't completely cripple our attack or our defense. We have definitely started conceding more goals, and that's downside, but generally we've managed to look good and start winning games again. And that's been really good.
Yeah, we've been saying all really positive things so far, right? Because we did win, and and results are all that matters, right? But I think it would be remiss to not comment on the fact that there is cause for concern after a game where we were 2-0 up so early. Leeds were all over the place, really. They were like completely destroyed. Get a man sent off. So we're 2-0 up, playing against 10 men halfway through the first half. On paper, there's no reason why we shouldn't be going on to win 4-5, 6-0, let's be honest. But in the end, we were hanging on for a win. We only won 2-1. And it'd be wrong to say that there's nothing concerning about that. I mean, Mize, like, does that worry you going into kind of the final games, regardless of the points? We talked about kind of just momentum and just dressing rooms and how they feel. Like Tottenham surely would have watched us today and sort of thought, oh geez, even with 11 versus 10, they were all, they barely scraped a win. I mean, are you concerned?
I'm not really, because we're so close to the end of the season. So being completely honest, if this was like December or whatever in the middle of the season, then yeah, absolutely. I think, as Aaron has said right at the start, it just comes down to getting the results, and we know exactly how many points we need to get. We know what we need to do to kind of achieve the goal for this season. So it doesn't worry me massively. I guess the thing that we need to fix for next season or improve on, and you kind of compare us to, say, the teams above us and the elite teams, is like, when we were 2-0, as you were saying, Raj, and with 11 men or not, even with 11 men, we were absolutely dominating that game. There were chances there, and you just have to get the third goal. When they go down to 10 men, you absolutely have to get the third goal and just kill the game off. And then you've got a game in sort of 4 days or 5 days, whatever, you can start taking players off in the second half and kind of rotating a bit and giving people a break. And we weren't able to do that because we just never got that third goal and killed the game off. And I guess that's what the Liverpools and the Man Cities do. So that's the improvement, I think, for next season to kind of try and get us to the next level is killing games off where we're absolutely dominating. And I think that will come, right? I think that will come because we obviously have the quality and we have the players. And I guess, a very, very good striker would help with that. Not necessarily today, because Eddie was obviously good today and he did the business. But, in other games, there are times where, either balls going into the box, there's no striker in the box, or we're missing chances, whatever it is. Obviously, a striker that gets 20 goals a season or more will definitely help with that. But yeah, I think for me right now, it's almost like, like you just take the 3 points and you move on to the next game with 3 games to go. I'm not really sure Spurs will look at it and I think Spurs have just been praying that we dropped some points and we didn't, and they'll be pissed off about that basically.
So it doesn't give you any concern. We've got these 3 games coming up, and like you say, it's not that many. And I suppose if you look at kind of our recent history over the last 5-6 games, you probably couldn't have predicted any kind of pattern of results that have kind of happened afterwards. But let's just say, for example, if Arsenal don't win in the North London derby, and let's just say if it's a draw, or let's just even say it's a loss. Even if it's a loss, in theory, on points, Arsenal is still in the driver's seat. Arsenal need to if Arsenal still win their 2 games after that, Arsenal go through. But has this result today kind of, I don't know, has that given you any doubt on kind of the ability for Arsenal to maybe kind of respond to anything but a victory in the North London derby?
I think if we lose the North London derby, that could change the whole. I mean, then the pressure comes back onto us to a certain degree, and then it is about how do we deal with that. And we have a tough away game up at Newcastle on a Monday night, and we know exactly what St James's Park is going to be like. So that does change things. I'm not saying I'm necessarily concerned based on today's result. I'd be concerned if the fact that we've lost the North London derby. And that's why, that's why I think it's just imperative we just don't lose it. We just absolutely can't lose it. As long as we don't lose it, then nothing changes really. We go there. If we get a point, 3 would be amazing, obviously, then it's done. But if we get a point, it's obviously still in our hands, even if we lose, but we still got that buffer. 4 points with 2 games to go. You'd have to be an absolute collapse to not do it from there. So it's just all about not losing on Thursday for me.
Yeah, you mentioned that today was a case where the striker did do the business. Just talking about Eddie a little bit. We've touched every episode for the last few episodes. We've talked very positively about him, and rightfully so. Even the games he hasn't scored, but today he's playing against the team that he went on loan to, and he scored goals off the bench, but they never really gave him too many opportunities to start because they preferred Bamford. It's quite a similar story to his season at Arsenal in some respects, right? Like, he's there, he's begging for a start and not getting it. And now he started getting it. He started putting the results, and, he's played against Leeds today. So it's kind of he's sending a message to 2 teams, his current team and the team that kind of, didn't give him those opportunities at all. And he scored twice in 12 minutes or whatever. I mean, Aaron, and it's obviously, Mice touched upon the fact that, we have benefited greatly from squad players kind of coming and stepping up or whatever. It's a little bit more than that with Eddie, though, isn't it? Because he's someone who's also playing for his future. Is it got to the point of like 2 goals today, and he was just magnificent, right? In the first half especially. I mean, is he someone that we really need to be putting a revised contract offer on the table and just doing whatever we can to keep him, purely from a continuity sake, from a here's a revitalized player's sake, from a whatever you want to call it sake? Is this a different scenario now than it was before?
I don't know, man. I this might be a bit controversial, and I think the only he's doing okay. He's obviously done well, right? You look at the 2 goals he scored today. Lacazette doesn't score those goals. First one, Lacazette's not closing down the keeper like that. And the second one, I think he was involved quite early on in the move with some build-up play. And then he basically legged it and got into the box and then finished it well. Lacazette, doesn't get into the box, and Lacazette probably doesn't usually finish it well either. And that's great. I'll just, you can say, would I be happy keeping him in the squad? Yeah, of course. I think we're going to need probably at least 3 or 4 strikers. I think a good top team has 4 strikers, but I think realistically we'll probably have 3 strikers. And would I be happy with him being one of them? Yeah, of course. I think, he's an academy player. He's come through. I'd love to see him do well. But I think you put any decent striker in this team and they score goals. I haven't seen anything, and I know we shouldn't compare, but it's not like when Saka came through. It's not like when Smith Rowe came through. It's not like when Martinelli came through, where you're like, these are players that are going to be in our first team in a year. I think Eddie is doing the basics that a striker should be doing, but I've not seen him do something and think, wow, we have a player there. And he could get there. I don't think he'll be happy with a squad role. I think that's the thing. Would I be happy to keep him as a squad player? Yes. But would he be happy with that? Probably not. And I think that's why he hasn't signed the contract. And then the question is, are you giving him 20, 30 games a season next season? And I if that's the case, I don't think he's good enough.
Very good. We've been talking about Gabriel Jesus a little bit offline. We've not had a proper conversation, but squad role. I mean, do you not think that he could, in some ways, be the Gabriel Jesus of Arsenal to what Gabriel Jesus is of City, in the sense that
he's
someone
nowhere good enough. He's not
as in my point is, Gabriel Jesus has not been Man City's main striker ever. He's not even been necessarily a first name on the team sheet in any position, but he gets lots of games and lots of minutes because he's a really useful player who you understand the system well, who has got a lot of really good movement, a lot of good things about him. Was Eddie not kind of established himself in that way?
Jesus is just a better player though, right?
I'm sorry, so I'm talking about just as a role in the squad more so.
As a role in the squad, I think.
And surely he'll get minutes. If we're in Europe, surely he'll get those minutes.
He's a third striker. I think that's fine.
Would you want him as your Champions League squad third striker?
Yeah, as a third striker, I'd be all right.
Because I think the opinion, because I think we talked about this just when he came into the team or when he was getting sub appearances when we were losing those games, and the opinion was probably quite different then, wasn't it? From you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
But it has changed. Okay, right.
He's changed.
He's shown that he can do it. Before he started going on this run, he's never really done it in any league game.
But he hadn't really had a run of league games.
He hadn't had a run, but when he's had those sub appearances, he hasn't really. And I know he's very young, and I think there aren't that many strikers of his age doing it in the Premier League, right? So it's a very high bar. But so would I keep him as a third striker in a Champions League Arsenal, or even a Europa League Arsenal? Yeah, but would he be happy with that? No, I think he's the type of player that wants to be starting Premier League games every week. And I reckon you probably agree with me, but I don't think he's that guy to be leading the line for us in the first game of next season.
But at the same time, he's not going to get a contract at a Champions League club to be a kind of starting striker, right? So isn't the question for him is, do I want to be a squad player at a team who's playing in the Champions League or Europa League versus a first team player at a squad who doesn't play in Europe? And
I think he's made his mind up, and I think he wants the latter. Is my opinion.
I mean, the thing is, right, if we get Champions League, the potential uplift that he can get in his contract offer from the club, there basically might be more money on the table for him because we've got Champions League football. If we really do actually want to keep him, I mean, at the end of the day, he might.
Do you think he's making his decision on money, or is he making it on minutes?
I mean, it's got to be a factor, right? It's got to be a factor. But look, I think it's an interesting one. I I wonder if he's waiting to see where we like, because like you said, Raj, it must be quite difficult to walk away from. If we do get Champions League, he's in London, he's at a big club or a massive club. We're now kind of entering a period where hopefully we're gonna, if we get the Champions League this season, if not next season, then we carry on sort of finishing in the top four and then progressing and kind of pushing back to where we used to be. He surely will look at that and think, yeah, like you say, if he leaves, he's basically dropping down the table by like 10 places or whatever. He's dropping down to mid-table if he stays in the Premier League. So, you could get all the games you want, but it's probably going to be quite frustrating playing for a mid-table team where you're not going to get as many chances. You're not going to be playing with as high quality players as we've got it, behind him. So you might look at it like that and think, I'll take, a bumper pay rise to play a second fiddle role or kind of a rotation role. I mean, this is the thing, right? Most teams play one striker up top. There's not room in the squad for three strikers, really, is there? So yeah, I mean, sorry, mate.
No, I was just gonna say, I think, to clarify, I think there's no downside in us giving him a new contract.
No, and we've been offering him one, right? So that's not a debate. It's about, I think, the level of contract we offer him, the terms of the contract, and how we can convince him to stay if we want him to stay. Yeah,
and I don't think we should give him a ridiculous contract, but I think you're right, Myers. If we get Champions League, then there is scope to maybe give him an extra 10, 20 grand a week, just if that's what it is.
That might convince him.
But I think he's basically like what you said, Raj. I think he's basically weighed it up. Say, do I want to be a third choice striker for a big team and get cup games, get European games, come on as a sub when there's injuries, I'll play and try and push myself that way? Or do I think I'm good enough to be starting week in, week out in the Premier League for a top 10 team, a Premier League team, right? Any Premier League team. And also I think his agent's probably had a word and said, well, if you leave on a free, you can probably get good money at one of these Premier League clubs because they're not paying 15, 20 million to get you. So I think he's made his mind up. And I think he's felt a bit let down by the past because it sounds like we've given him promises of like minutes, and those minutes have never materialized. And up until very recently. And I think he's on his way out, which is a shame, but it is what it is. But am I worried that we're going to lose a top striker? No, he could be become a top striker in 4 or 5 years, but I don't think in the next 3 years he's going to be a Champions League level striker.
Yeah, I think if he leaves, I could see him at like West Ham, for example, like another London club. They desperately need strikers in their squad. They can't rely on Antonio. They're kind of at the level that he probably feels like he could play at, kind of 6th, 7th, 8th place type team, and probably quite an attractive option for him. So
he's still very young, isn't he? And that's the thing. He like strikers at that age who are scoring 15. There aren't strikers at that age scoring 15, 20 goals in the Premier League. So the question is, will he hit that level at 26, 27, or even 25? And do we have the patience? Does he have the patience to stick it with us, or does he want more sooner? And I think he's made his mind up, and he says he wants more sooner.
Yes, so I think we all agree that there's a lot of talent there. He's doing some really good things now. He's probably not like top level world class at the moment. Another 23-year-old who we should ask that question about right now, Martin Odegaard. I mean, look, in my opinion, he's our best player, I would say, right now.
Really?
I think my personal opinion is I think he's just a super talent. He's just such a leader on the pitch, and he's so integral to everything good that we do with the ball. And today, even though I think that there are probably some negatives that I don't know if we even want to explore today with the team of performance, we may want to touch on. I mean, again, I still think it's catastrophic in some ways that you can kind of make a game as difficult as we did today after being 2-0 up and, playing 10 men. I still think throughout the whole game, the one person who was playing at a world class level was Odegaard. The biggest compliment I can pay him is I think that he gets into Liverpool and Man City's team.
Really?
That's the biggest compliment I can give him. Yeah. I mean, okay, look, and I say that in the sense that Man City and Liverpool are both teams who, you know, they change their team around for, you know, their opposition or whatever. I'm not saying he starts every single game, but I think that he's good enough to play for those teams. I mean, Aaron, I'll go straight to you because it feels like there's maybe an element of, is there something that you disagree with from what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that he's quality. I love him.
Yeah.
But that's just a big statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
He gets into Man City or a Liverpool team. I mean, like Liverpool don't really play with a player like him as much. And then, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's not. I don't think you're suggesting he's going to displace Kevin De Bruyne anytime soon.
No.
But...
It's more about the quality of player that those clubs look for. I think he's of that quality.
He's just a top footballer, isn't he? That's basically it. And, you know, the thing I like about Odegaard is the story behind it. Like, you know, the fact that he went to Madrid really early, it didn't really work out. He then came to us on loan where he kind of sort of found his feet and then realized that actually this is a place that I can make, like, that I can call home. And that I can, like, I've been this kid that's kind of been shipped around from left to right, never really settled. And he's realizing that potential that he failed to realize, or that other clubs failed to realize in him. I think you probably say it that way. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everything you read about him just sounds like he is a top professional, very humble, very modest, but at the same time is, you know, captain of his country and could be a future captain at Arsenal for, you know, if everything goes well. Like, how old is he now? 22, 23?
He's 23.
Like, if everything goes well, we're talking about our captain for the next 10 years. Like, that's pretty crazy. So, but yeah, let's not hype him up too much. I think he's just silky. He fits into that team well. His link up with Saka is very good. And I just hope, and that's the good thing about all of these players, is that next season, Champions League or no Champions League, they're going to be better.
Yeah.
And we're on the road to seeing what these players could become. And that's the part that really excites me about him and a number of our players.
Yeah. Miles, you've been saying it, right? Yeah. For like a number of weeks, you've been saying that, you know, whenever we play compliments to Odegaard, you know, you sort of always say that he's a player who other fans of other clubs who don't watch Arsenal for 90 minutes every week probably don't realize or don't see it. And you're probably still true even after today's game. I don't think he's the sort of player that even today's performance, unless you watched him for 90 minutes, you probably don't realize how good he is. But do you think that, to Aaron's point, if we in the summer go bring in more top quality players, do you think that suddenly we see an even better Odegaard?
Probably. And I think the key one for there is, you know, the key kind of addition would be obviously a striker, right? A guy through the middle who makes the right runs, is able to finish, and there's hopefully a link up between, you know, our number 10 and Odegaard and the striker. I mean, look, it's quite interesting what Aaron was saying, because I kind of feel quite strongly about him like you do, Raj, in terms of how good he is. And it's not just how good he is, but yeah, I think you may have said it, how integral he is to the way that we play. And as soon as you take him out of the team, you notice massively the kind of connection between central midfield and the attacking players pretty much goes. And like Aaron and you were saying, like, let's not hype him up too much. I think we absolutely should be like hyping him up massively, because I think it, like, yeah, I've said it before, like you said, Raj, I think he's really, really, really underrated. And I think it could be because his stats aren't great and people love to look at stats and then compare him to, like, oh, look at De Bruyne and look at, I don't know, like Fernandez or whoever, and start saying, yeah, you know, these other players have got, you know, better stats, better goals, better assists. But I think, yeah, he's the kind of player that if you like football, you know, we used to say it's about Ozil, right? If you love football and you watch him for 90 minutes, you realize how important he is to the way that we play. You see how literally everything goes through him. All of our kind of attacking play, he comes across to the left-hand side, to the right-hand side, sorry, links up well with whoever's playing right back and links up well with El Neni, links up well with Saka. And yeah, it would just be nice to see that kind of, if he could add a few more goals. I don't think he necessarily needs to add the assists, because I think he always gets the pre-assist basically, so it doesn't really matter. He's always there creating anyway. But I think if he can add a few more goals to his game, which I think will come, that will just, I guess the top players, that's what they do. Like they get, the top attacking midfielders, they get 10 to 15 plus goals a season. And if he can start doing that, then maybe he might start getting a bit more recognized. But I think from how we set up and how Arteta wants us to play, basically, we've got like the perfect player in that position. And so just I think we're really, really lucky that we got him for such a bargain,
absolute bargain. You need players, right? Like I think for us to be a top team, you need players who play well, who step up when maybe the rest of the team aren't. And if we think about some of the goals that he scored this season, he's not scored that many, but there's just 3 off the top of my head. Brighton, Everton, Man United away. We lost all those games, but he scored in each of those games, right? He's someone who steps up whether we're playing well or whether we're not playing well. Today was a game where for some bizarre bloody reason, we decided to not play very well, like for a large portion of that game. But I feel like if it wasn't for him, things could have got a lot worse. Can I just evolve onto that slightly? I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like, it may be just a result of nerves or whatever. But Aaron, and like just with Arsenal today, again, 2-0 up, we're playing against 10 men, and to make such hard work of it, whose fault was it? What was the issue? Can you like make any sense of that?
I think it's this team just hasn't really been in that position. I was thinking today, when was the last time we played against a team that had 10 men? I don't know. Has it happened this season? It must have done. But just generally, I think that this is like a very young team, and a lot of these situations that you get in games, like being in a run-in, playing against 10 men, holding a lead when you go into a 2-0 lead and just killing it off, those situations just haven't really happened to us. And I think, one of the observations from this season generally is we haven't really been in a position where we have killed those games off, because a lot of our games have been 1-0s, 2-1s, where we've either come from behind or just tried to, we've got a winner in the, second half or something like that. And we've not really killed games. And you're right, we absolutely need to learn to kill these games off, because not only does that, for our nerves, just makes us feel better, but then we can start thinking about like resting players and taking them off, and then maybe they don't get injured in the next game and stuff like that. But whose fault was it today? I think it was one of those where we really lacked experience in attack. So we talked about Odegaard, right? But we had Saka, we had Nketiah, we had Martinelli. I think what I really would have wanted from one of those players, and what I will expect from these players to do going forward when they are a bit more experienced, is say, okay, like it's 2-0 or even 2-1 when we're struggling a bit, and said, I'm going to take this game into my own hands and I'm going to win, get a goal, and then just shut this game down. And I still think there's a little way to go for all of them, where they just aren't super clinical yet, and they don't have that maturity or that ability to, I don't want to say the ability to step up, because they have stepped up, right? Some of these kids have been carrying our team for so long, but to just say, right, this is done, this game is over. And the way we've kind of done that in the past, we've kind of killed games through defense, in the way that we've brought Rob Holding on and we've said, you're not scoring, and we're sitting on this 1-goal lead. Or we've seen games out by defending well, and that's cool. But what we also need to do is see games out by attacking well and saying, our defense might not be on it today, but you're not scoring. I mean, we've scored 3 goals, so it doesn't matter what our defense does. And we haven't really learned how to do that yet.
I'm going to be a little bit provocative, right? Does any of this make you question how allegedly talented some of our young attacking talents are? I'm not saying they're not talented, but if we look at it in relativity, right? The Champions League has been on over the last couple of weeks. Real Madrid have somehow powered their way to the final, right? And you had Vinicius Jr., who throughout this kind of campaign, like especially in the knockout phases, has like done some incredible things and been really decisive in big moments against big teams. you had Rodrigo, who scored those couple of goals against Man City to, effectively knock them out, really, right? And they're around the same age as people like Martinelli. And I think that, we all, as Arsenal fans, over a couple of years have been looking at players like Martinelli, like Smith Rowe, Saka, etc., and being like, these are like truly world-class talents. Are they world-class talents if, really they are? Let's just take Martinelli as an example. He's still not really deciding games on a consistent, it's even semi-consistent basis. I mean, Mize, any thoughts on that? Am I being a bit harsh?
No, I don't think you are being harsh. I think you're just comparing where we are now against what the bar is, essentially, the very, very top level. You talk about like the Champions League finalists, La Liga winners, the team that everyone wants to go and play for in terms of like European tradition and history. So they obviously can attract the best young players from like South America and Spain or wherever else. So I don't think it's I mean, it's a fair point, but I think that if we do get to the Champions League, we're going to have to like the recruitment kind of standard, essentially, or the expectation from recruitment and from the transfer window just goes up a notch, where the players that we bring in have to kind of supplement what we've got already. But at the same time, I would hope that we're going to bring in players that could just do it from like day one, if that makes sense. And if that really makes sense, but we're bringing in top quality players, and then you kind of almost take the pressure off some of the younger guys. They still need to deliver and still need to perform, but I think they're still also developing, essentially. The Martinelli one's an interesting one, though, because like he's just one of the players that you love as an Arsenal fan, and we rave about him, and Klopp raves about him, for example. So obviously he's kind of admired around the Premier League, but at the same time, you do sometimes get like, he had a really good game today, and I can't remember who was it. Ayling he had against him today, but he had him on toast up until he got sent off, and whoever he played against after that, he had him on toast as well. So he was, he was getting to that byline, getting crosses in. He was very dangerous. But at the same time, that kind of cutting edge, that clinical, a chance comes and I'll take it, or I get a couple of chances and I take one. Kind of like what Son does, for example, for Spurs. He's got 20 odd Premier League goals this season. That's the kind of next level for players like him. I think with Saka, he's doing it. I don't think you can question Saka's numbers. I don't think you can question Saka's impact on the game. I don't think you can question Saka's kind of mentality. Considering what happened to him in the summer, he's come back this season and has had his best season in terms of everything, numbers and just performances. And I think Smith Rowe's been in and out of the team, and I think Odegaard, we talked about him. I think Martinelli is probably the one where next season, I think the expectation on him is to, step up a notch. And like today, I was a little bit disappointed with a couple of his finishes, to be honest. I think there was one, he was out wide. He probably should have not out wide. He was sort of at a bit of an angle, and he should have crossed it, and he had a shot. I think Meslier saved it. There was that one where he chested it down and hit it on the volley or half volley, and he hit it over down our end in the North Bank. And I thought he should really hit the target there. And it's kind of those chances that seem to be passing him by, where I think he needs to, get to that next level, and then we'll see. But I think to compare these guys to, say, Real Madrid, Liverpool, it's where we want to get to, but I'm not sure it's fair when we've not even been in Europe this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, look, guys. Win's a win, whatever. Like, I think that's all we really care about at the moment, right? Like, and next season and next summer, there'll be lots of stuff to think about. We've got Tottenham on Thursday. It's the biggest game of the season. It's like, it's usually big. It doesn't even matter if there's nothing to play for, right? Like, it's what Arsenal fans care about. It's what Tottenham fans care about. It's the first North London derby at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium since fans have been allowed back in the stadium. So it's the first opportunity that Arsenal fans have got to go to that stadium. And it's a game where it's probably the most important. There's probably never been a North London derby where more has ridden on this. Mize, you sort of, you mentioned kind of the days when some of these big games used to settle titles for Arsenal, and it's not quite that. But it's still seismic in terms of what it could mean for the clubs. Arsenal winning at in the North London derby at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this Thursday means that Arsenal will be in the Champions League next season for the first in a number of kind of, years. It means that Tottenham, I mean, I was about to say won't be. I don't know if it still means that could Chelsea still kind of, I don't think they could catch Chelsea either, right? Like maybe like,
they could, yeah, they're 5 points off them. So I mean,
in theory could. But yeah, so basically the point is it's huge, it's massive, it's huge. And me and you are lucky enough to go. I mean, like, not to rub it in, Aaron, and like we're lucky enough to go. We're gonna.
You haven't mentioned. Sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah. By the way, we're going actually on Thursday. Yeah. Okay, let's predict, guys. Aaron, and let me go to you first. What do you think is going to happen on Thursday?
2-2. I just think the game will be chaos, basically. I think it will be one of those where, we're a young team, right? And we will have our ups, we'll have our downs. And I think we'll see probably the best and the worst of us in that game, in the fact that this is a very inexperienced team that will probably be a bit nervous, a bit scared. But also, like you said earlier, we do have these world-class talented young players who could at any moment just do something world-class. Or at least, maybe not win it from scratch, or win it from nothing, but come together to do something really good. And I think that will get us through. At the same time, we'll probably see the best and worst of Tottenham. So, I mean, the best is, those two blokes that they have that seem to love scoring. But that's kind of it with Spurs. But I also think we'll see the worst of Spurs, which is a team that, when under pressure, just don't handle it well at all. And, will they step up? I don't know. I think, we always give them a good game at, when we play them. And I know when we go there, we often struggle a bit, and, but I think we'll have enough. And I think we'll get a draw somehow. And then it'll be on to those last two games to see if we can get a win.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I can see a draw as well. It's very hard to predict a North London derby always. It's just always a bit of a mental game. I think our record at the new stadium, at the old stadium, it's been pretty poor recently.
We haven't won there in a while, have we, in the league?
I don't think so. I think it's been ages, actually. Not that necessarily, it's a different team now, I guess. Maybe it doesn't even have too much of a bearing on the game on Thursday. But look, I think when you've got, like Aaron said, when you've got Kane and Son in your team, or we're playing against them, you just can't really. You probably got to expect the worst. And Kane, they both tend to score against us, so I'm not expecting us to keep a clean sheet. I can see kind of both teams almost cancel each other out, and it being like a 2-2 type of game. Which, to be honest, if that's how it ends up, it's going to be like, I don't know how we're going to deal with it, to be honest, because it's going to be like crazy. And like today was nerve-wracking. The last half an hour.
I'm already nervous thinking about it.
With what's on the line, I don't know how we're going to deal with it. But if we can, like, basically give me a draw all day long, I will take it. I mean, look, it'd be amazing to win there. Don't get me wrong. You always want to beat Spurs. This one is even more riding on it. But considering the position we're in, if we can get a draw, then that's huge with 2 games to go. Like, that's massive. So yeah, I think I'll go 2-2 as well. I'm going to copy Aaron's prediction. I'm going to go 2-2 as well.
That's interesting, because the thing is, but based on the fact that a draw just doesn't really help Spurs. I mean, it's, right. It's obviously not as bad as losing, but I think it's going to be really interesting because Tottenham, it feels to me, haven't been that great. Like Aaron, and when you mentioned it before, I think when they've played games where they're supposed to win, particularly when they're at home, I feel like that's probably when they've been at their worst, when they're setting up for games that they're really, really trying to win at home. And I wonder if that could work in our favor with kind of not a great deal to lose in some ways. I think it'll be a battle of the managers. but I actually am going to go for us to win, because for me, it's either us winning or them winning. And I think genuinely, like, there is a good chance of both those things happening, because I think that we are going to try and frustrate them and maybe play them a little bit of their own game a bit. I think we're going to set up in a similar way to what we set up at Chelsea. So I think that we're kind of going to switch between 4 at the back and 3 at the back at various points in the game, because, you know, I think that seemed to work against Chelsea. And I'm going to go for an Arsenal 3-1 win. And I think it's going to be a case where it's not necessarily going to be like Arsenal 3-0 up or anything like that. I think it might be that, you know, it'll be 1-1. We might get 2-1 like quite late on in the game, and then Spurs will try and push, and then we'll get that final kind of goal. And similarly to Chelsea, you know, how we got a goal there. I think it's going to be a game like that. So that's just edging it over a Spurs win for me. So I'm going to go that partly because
Hope you're right.
Yeah, I don't know if I can bring myself to go into the NLD, you know, going there and thinking that, you know, we're gonna lose. So I think I'm going to go with that one. One thing, guys, what we haven't touched on, I don't, you know, I think we should probably call it on the episode, because we are, you know, we're getting, I think we're on the hour now. Is, you know, Mikel Arteta signed a new contract this week, and it's like really interesting timing, right? Because a lot of fans have been fairly sort of divided around. I wouldn't say so much around whether he's doing an okay job, because I think it's been harder and harder for the anti-Arteta crowd to kind of have too much of a voice there with kind of, you know, where we are right now, although there are still voices there that, you know, are trying to be heard. But I think that there was a question around what is success this season, and whether, you know, the ambition for Arsenal was to finish in the top 4 or not, whether the board expected us to finish top 4 or not. Now, there are still sort of debates over that. You know, it's what the board say is one thing, and how they behave is another. And I'd say probably with that latter, we have given him a new contract before top 4 has been sewn up. We've given him a new contract essentially when it looked like top 6 was probably sewn up. How significant do you think the timing is for that? And look, I'm happy about it. Are you guys happy? Aaron, go to you first.
Yeah, of course I'm happy. I think for me, I don't think there was ever a doubt about would we give him a new contract. I think it was about the timing. And like you said, I think it sounds like the target was get top 6 this season. And the way I think it happened, and this is pure speculation on my part, was, do you remember in January where we obviously didn't buy anyone? And then was it when Arteta went to see Kroenke?
Yeah.
Before the international break, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon that was like, there was a conversation there that was basically like, look, the money wasn't there, or we didn't do anything in January, but we're going to give you a big summer, and there is a contract there for you if you get top 6. And I think they agreed the numbers, and both parties were happy. And then it's just a case of when we got top 6, they were like, you know, you just sign and it's done. And then they just had to think about when they did it and when they announced it. And you know, I don't think anyone can argue with, if top 6 was the target, we got it. Well done to him. You know, I was always saying that actually top 6 was probably a bit too low. I wanted 5th. I said 5th was the minimum. And, you know, funnily enough, we've done that this weekend with Man United losing, which is also very, very funny. And
hilarious. Jeez, we know on episode.
Yeah, we probably exactly. But
off the cuff, let's laugh at United. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And like, for us to get 5th this season, I think is a good, you know, it's not outstanding, but it's good. If we go one higher than that, then I think there's a big jump from getting that 5th to getting 4th. And if we have bridged that gap this season, then that's outstanding. But I think 5th is, for me, a good season, regardless of what happens between now and the end of the summer and the end of the season.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm very, very happy as well. Similar to what Aaron has said, pretty much not in doubt. I don't think there was any question marks about As long as he wanted to stay, there would be a contract for him. And I think, like this, we say this all the time, right? About the fans that complain, Arteta out. As soon as we lose a game, they're on. They kind of crawl out the woodwork and start putting their stuff on social media. I mean, look, what do people expect at the end of the day? He took over a team. We can go through this over and over again. He took over a team in the state that they were. He's completely reshaped the squad. He's changed the whole mentality around the club. The fans are back on side with the team and with him. You saw it today. Like half time was mental in the concourse. When was the last time we saw the North? Like any home game. Forget the North Bank. Any home game where the fans are just like. It was so loud. It was so loud. I'm not exaggerating that. It was amazing. It was so good. It was just like fantastic to see. And that just tells you everything. Like you go to a match and you see how much the fans are kind of back in love with the club, as it were. You've got such a likable team, likable players, and players that are really playing for the shirt now, I feel, whereas that wasn't the case 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, under the last few years of Wenger. So what do people want? We're not going to be champions this season, next season, probably not for another few seasons. We're not going to be winning the Champions League. But if you're seeing signs of progress and we're climbing up the table and we're playing exciting football and we're scoring goals again and it's fun to watch, that's what we really want. And then if the trophies come as a result, fantastic. We're not going to stop supporting the club just because we haven't won the Premier League in such a long time. So yeah, like I think he's doing a fantastic job. All in all, you can't just look at the results. You've got to look at everything he's had to contend with. And yeah, I like we talk about this stuff all the time straight after the game, but we were talking about, well, what is Arteta's next move, and what happens in terms of the Arsenal manager position in a few years' time. And you wouldn't be surprised. They're probably already asking the question, a Man City, maybe a Barcelona, maybe. I mean, look, maybe it's early days for that because he's not necessarily proved anything, but you would not be surprised if in 3-4 years or whatever, they're the kinds of teams that are looking like are going to be after him. Wouldn't be surprised at all. So, yeah, I think I kind of predict that, yeah, I don't know how many years he'll be with us, but there'll be a point in the next, say, 10 years when once he probably has left Arsenal, that we'll be looking at him thinking, bloody hell, he's done very, very well for himself at Arsenal and wherever he moves to next. So I think he's going to have a really good career as a manager. He's got so much about him. And no, very, very happy overall, to summarize.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, just to cap it off, I think it's a great message to send to the current squad and kind of any future signings that we're trying to make in the window. Arteta's the man, the board back him. We've suffered, in my opinion, in the past, in the back end of the Wenger years and during the Emery years, of players thinking, I might outlast this manager. Yeah. And I don't necessarily have to, play ball if I don't really like it. And, I can disrupt. This is Arteta's way or the highway. He's, a bit dictatorial in that way from all kinds of reports. It's his show. And the board are basically turning around and going, we back this guy's show completely. And so for me, I think that's the right thing to do. So yeah, look, all positive from my perspective as well. So look, let's call it there. Like massive game on Thursday that we're looking forward to. We're going to hopefully be recording on the Friday night after the game. And my goodness, that could be a very different tone of recording depending on the result, right? Like, we say that most weeks, but this is it, right? We could be recording on Friday night. We genuinely could be recording on Friday night with Champions League secured, right? Like, and it feels for a club of Arsenal size, we were used to playing the Champions League every year. So that wasn't even a thing, but it is now. It is what it is. It's the reality of it. And as much as we would rather be kind of competing for titles right now, like, it's all relative, right? Look at Man United. It's the biggest kind of embarrassment in Premier League history, arguably, this season for them. So let's I guess be happy where we are, and hopefully we'll be in a really good place on Friday. So look, thanks everyone for joining us. Enjoy your week until the Arsenal game. Mize, Aaron, thank you as always. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.